This is something a little different for you today. This is a little story that happened to me when I was in high school. So I was friends with another kid that was into gaming. His name was Joe Young. No, not that Joe Young. I had a PlayStation. He had a Nintendo 64. We were both fans of RPGs, so he was a little jealous of things like the Final Fantasy series and Wild Arms. But one day I came in talking about Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and to my shock, he was like, well, who wants to play a 2D game at this point? Castlevania 64 is going to come out, and no one's going to remember Symphony of the Night. Castlevania 64 is going to set the tone for the whole rest of the series going forward. And I was standing there going like, are you sure? Isn't there room for both 2D and 3D gaming? And this struck me as odd because he really kept pounding in how Castlevania 64 was coming over the next, days and weeks. Then it finally came out, and I knew he was getting that on launch day. And I showed up the next day, being very curious on his thoughts about it. Not having a Nintendo 64 at the time, I had no way to investigate this. And, he did not want to talk about Castlevania 64. And I think everyone listening probably understands why. Because I think history has pretty much made the judgment on Castlevania Symphony of the Night versus Castlevania 64. Now, I personally wouldn't have an actual experience with Castlevania 64 till many years later. And in the days after his silence, I would see, magazine articles and posts on the then primitive internet. And I always felt kind of bad for him, because he was so excited for that game, and it was such a disappointment to him. And I had stumbled across a game that I rented on an impulse and found something great. That's kind of why I miss rental stores nowadays, because sometimes there was nothing you really wanted to rent, so you just kind of picked something at random. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. I lost contact with Joe after high school, so don't know where he's at now, don't know what he's doing. Don't know if he's even still into gaming. Please do like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.